So today recently I learned about CAC, like cost per acquisition of client or a customer, right? This basically goes into like how much you're spending on ads per person to sign up or buy your product or service, right? And yeah, this can really be really important when leveraging when trying to figure out which ideas are more worthwhile to build and to start up first, depending on the business cycle and how much money you have towards ads you can put towards ads, right? Based on how much value you're offering within the product or service, right? So, and there's ROAS, right? Return on ad spend, right? Which is basically like, this is how much money you expect to get for return on your ad spend, which is kind of simple. But what comes first before that, and why this matters, is that you're not going to know your CAC unless you actually have somebody buy your product or service through ads first, right? You have to go through that process of spending X amount of money to against somebody new to go through that ad and sales funnel to eventually make a purchase, and then that's where you would know where roughly your CAC would be if this happens for the first time, right? It's going to be probably a little higher on average, and then you would have the sales and ad algorithms try to like optimize that, figure out or find who's the right ideal niche of people to send this ad to, right? That would actually click and engage and be interested in the product or service that you're trying to sell and showcase through this ad. And yeah, idealistically, you want to get your CAC as low as possible. Idealistically, you're going to try to get it below your average order price, because if it's actually above your average order price, you're making a loss let's say you're doing monthly subscriptions, you're making a loss that first couple of months, right, until you start to get that return on your investment on that person, whoever bought your product or service, right? So let's say your CAC, you're selling let's just be simple and stick in the 10-digit range, right? Let's say your CAC is 30. You cost $30 in ads. For a good clean run on ads, $30 for a new person to sign up for your service, business, product, or whatever that you offer monthly. That's $10 a month, right? So it would take three months for you to see a return on ads, you make a return on that person buying your monthly subscription, right? Then you could actually make a profit on this business, right? And that's where investment can come in. It's like if you know where your margins are at, and where how many users signing up, and like where they're signing up from, either through organic or paid ads. Your CAC, your ROAS, and this is what you could expect to make as a profit after X amount of months, X amount of years, right? With a certain and I think that's what VCs are looking for. That's what people should be looking for in general when starting a business. Are those values like CAC, ROAS, customer lifetime value, which is like how much money the person expects to spend with your product or service, and then and like your churn rate. When do people churn? Why? And how can we increase the experience to make it more valuable, worth it? And it all just depends on alignment with the people that want your product or service versus the marketing and the ads, and making sure all of that is aligned, right? And if that is aligned, then it should be good. There's so many niche markets out there, to be honest. There are so many, and I think what could help, new business owner, or like new people trying to aspiring to start a business, is to figure out, which one of the businesses that you want to start has the lowest CAC. So if you wanted to put money on ads, you would at least, know that you would at least make this much money after this much, this many short-term period of months, to eventually make that profit back and to get that amount of money that you spent on ads back in your pocket, right? So CAC. And it's interesting that it's like, the more CAC also represents how easy it is for people to get it, how easy it is for people to be aligned with the marketing and the ads and all that stuff, and to understand the idea, the value proposition that you're trying to communicate through this product or service, or this marketing, right? Versus if you have a higher CAC, then it takes a lot of hand holding, it takes a lot of sales, it takes a lot of work and effort to propose people to buy this product or service, which can be a bad. It really depends on if it's a good or bad thing or not. To be honest, it's really trying to nail a high ticket client, right? You it's going to be worthwhile after you nail this high ticket client, because you're gonna you're gonna make X amount of you're gonna get that high ticket, right? But it take because the effort that you are providing is going to be a lot to the person, right? And but it just takes a lot of hand holding, it takes a lot of sales interventions, not interventions, but sales processing to have the person understand the value proposition, to have the person understand the tooling, the workflow necessary to adopt this value proposition that you're trying to offer, right? And that's what a higher CAC. You would see this in enterprise. You see a higher CAC in enterprise with more technical things. You would see mid-tier CAC if you, let's say, no code vibe coding tools out there. They have a mid to high tier CAC, depending on who they're trying to market to. If they're trying to market to people who do not know how to code at all, and this allows people to code something up really fast and get a really clear result, hence value proposition, then you would see a more moderate to high CAC. But if it's more of a very technical, distinguished coding tool that is hard to describe the value proposition, hard to have the end user adopt and integrate and process and utilize this whole entire new workflow for a business into their business, then that's where you would see a higher CAC. It's when the sales process takes multiple months, if not a couple of years. That's where you'd see a higher CAC. But that's where you would see higher lifetime customer value, because once you get that person into your ecosystem, they've bought and sold, you spent that money on acquiring a successful person, making a successful sale. They're more likely going to stick with you for a longer period of time. They're not going to churn as much, to be honest, which is great, right? That's more consistent money in the bank. But again, it just takes a longer sales cycle. So everything has their pros and cons. It's you can really get somebody to quickly understand something with lower CAC, but you know, they might churn. I mean, like, what's keeping them from churning to a different thing, right? If your new thing is 3% better than the next thing, right? They, you know, there might be somebody out there that, you know, could either one, put more ad dollars towards that same topic, or two, make a thing that's 3% better. But realistically, if there are tools that are 3% better that are out there in the market, what would do better is the people that spent the most marketing, like spent the most budget, spent the most, has done the most, has made the most impact in the market to get the most distribution. Because honestly, at the end of the day, it's not about whether the you know, the product is even that good. It's more about how far can you get this new message out into the ecosystem, which is a really interesting like phenomenon and really new to me. Coming from my original thoughts way back when I was young is like, oh, if I just do better, then people you know, come. If I just build the thing, the people will come, which is not necessarily the case now in this day and age, right? It's like the more out there in the media that you are, the more likely people are going to buy, you know, like and trust you and buy the things and have that value exchange that you have to offer, whatever it is that you're offering. So this is why it's super important to not also like tag along that CAC. Keep in mind that CAC economic marketing plans in your plans, but also like utilize and realize organic marketing, because you could basically get your product seen out there for free, essentially, if you play your cards right and you get some people, like, well, it might depend in this day and age, right? You have to, you know, have really niche micro influencers and, you know, handle your marketing that way, organic marketing that way. But it all just depends on, you know, the marketing style, like what the product, who the product belongs to, if it fits in a niche marketplace, if it fits in a niche group where the people really like that thing, or if it can spread through word of mouth, or if it can spread through viral marketing, which all three of those can lower your CAC in the end. But it's all about how quickly can you get to market is what this metric is for, is CAC. Is if you could spend this much money, you expect to make back that much money afterwards. Essentially what CAC is.